Okay, today let's go for the story about WebLogic on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. First, you need to understand WebLogic on OCI is not a managed service, okay? But you can find on the Marketplace a lot of nice images that are ready to use, and you are going to understand that there are a lot of advantages of using this kind of images. Okay? Looking at the marketplace, you can do a search on WebLogic, and you can see you have two options. You can use an image that is WebLogic image, or here you can use a stack. Okay? When you use an image, then you will create a VM, and in the VM, you will have the binary of WebLogic. It means that probably you will do the installation of WebLogic yourself on this image. But that's nice because everything is ready, the binary is here. Okay? You have another option, and the option is to use Stack. Stack Resource Manager is the Terraform service on OCI. It's more powerful because you will use a stack that was created by Oracle, and this stack will allow you to have nice features. Okay? And for example, you are going to create a cluster with this stack very easily. So for this demo, I use a stack with WebLogic Suite, BYOL. Okay, so you have the image BYOL, you bring your own license, or you have the image or stack UC with the license included. Okay, for the demo, I used WebLogic Suite BYOL because I'm doing this demo for a customer and coherence is needed. Okay, let's go. After clicking on the stack, at the end, I created Oracle WebLogic Suite BYOL stack here. You see here, after the first apply succeeded, that I got a WebLogic cluster with two nodes. Okay, so two VM. On the first VM, you have the admin server and the WebLogic server 1, and on the second VM, you have the WebLogic server number 2. Okay. After doing that, I use WebLogic Remote Console here, and sure, in order to be able to connect from the remote console to this WebLogic cluster, I created a session on the Bastion service here, on this target port. Okay. What you can see, at start, I got a cluster, WebLogic cluster with two servers. But remember, in this demo, I need another cluster because I want to have another cluster in order to manage coherence. Okay, so I created a second cluster called coherence cluster here. Looking at the WebLogic server, at start with the stack, remember the stack run here, and a lot of resources were created automatically. Okay. And after the run of the stack, I got a cluster with two servers, server 1 on VM1 and server 2 on VM2. Okay. Then after that, I created myself another WebLogic, Coherence 1 and Coherence 2, because I want to use the feature Coherence Managed Server, it means coherence run in WebLogic. And it's very easy to deploy a coherence cluster like that, because at the end, you just create a WebLogic cluster and you use this WebLogic cluster in order to run coherence. Okay. Okay. As you see here, you can edit, add a cluster, and so on. You can see that at the end, I added to my coherence cluster, and I linked this coherence cluster to this WebLogic cluster here. Okay, here to this WebLogic cluster. And it means this WebLogic cluster is only here to run coherence nodes. Okay? So, infrastructure as code, the stack was created automatically, and the stack created first a cluster. I created another one using WebLogic Remote Console. So what you can see is that it's very easy to create a cluster, and it's very easy to use infrastructure as code with Terraform in order to create a WebLogic cluster. This is a 14C cluster, okay? And it means if you later have an application that you need to install on this cluster, sure, you will use, for example, WebLogic scripting tool, or you will use Ansible. And it means that this step with infrastructure as code with Terraform maybe is a step 1 of your infrastructure as code workflow. And you will add steps 2, step 3 in order to create another cluster, and so on and so on. Okay? Remember, you can increase the number of the nodes. Just you can go to the stack and do an update. And it's very simple. And if we go to the stack, you will see here on the stack detail, okay, edit the stack. In fact, you can see that you have a lot of other features that you can use. Remember, I got automatically here a load balancer in front of my WebLogic cluster, but I can add to the management of the VM with OS Management Hub, because remember, it's not a managed service. So it means you have to manage the VM where WebLogic is running. So you need to manage the security. You need to update the operating system. You can use OS management in order to update the operating system. Okay, you can use to Java Management Service in order to update the JDK. You can click here in order to export log automatically to OCI Logging service. You can click here in order to enable application performance monitoring and to have metrics of performance regarding your WebLogic cluster. You have an Autoscale feature too that is possible and that you can use. So you can see here that the number of features coming with this stack is very, very important. And that's really, really nice to use this stack to create a WebLogic cluster on OCI. Okay. Just if we have a look here to OS Management Hub, you can see my first node here with WebLogic, and you can see that I have 2,705 available updates, bug fix, security. Here, everything is managed automatically. It will be the same with Java. It will be the same for a lot of features. Okay. So remember, the stack is super nice. On the marketplace, everything is ready here. If you want to include this infrastructure as code stack, Terraform stack, in another workflow, you can click on the stack. You can just download here the Terraform configuration. You can avoid using Resource Manager of Oracle. And, okay, after downloading the stack, I can include it somewhere else in another workflow with infrastructure as code, and I can run this stack with Terraform on CI/CD with GitHub, Jenkins, GitLab, and so on and so on. Okay, so everything is ready to use and to create WebLogic on OCI. Thank you for your attention.